So here's a project involving a ticket and Ticketmaster class. For the ticket class, we can create an object of ticket by selecting new ticket. We can give the instance of that class a name. I'm just going to call it ticket1. You see that it appears down here at the bottom. And if we double click on it, we can take a look at what's inside the object. So inside the object, we see that there's a string called show, a char called row, and an integer called seat. So it looks like this is a description of a show ticket. So there's a title that can go in there. A char is just a single character. In this case, probably a letter, and seat is a number. So the Ticketmaster class has our main method, and we can run the program, and the program is going to create a ticket. So we can watch how the program does that. If we run the program now, there's no output, so there's nothing to really see. But if we want to run the program, we can see the object that's going to be created, and I'm going to use what's called a debugger by placing a little stop sign on the first line of code of my program, which is going to cause the debugger to pause the program. So when I run it, I get this window popping up called the debugger, and what it has done is it has paused my program on that line. So I can step through my program one step at a time and watch what happens as it happens. So you can see local variables down here appearing. One of them is called pop music. And the other thing I can do is I can double click on pop music, and I get a similar window as I did before. This time I can see that the variables are getting values. So I can see that the show field got a string. And if I continue to step through the program, I can watch and see as the other fields change. So now the row has a value and the seat has a value. So the debugger is very useful for finding problems in your programs. Sometimes it's difficult to understand where the problem is if the program just runs very quickly all at once and you can't see what's happening. Objects are made from classes. Classes define fields to store information. Objects are created by invoking a constructor. So in our program, when we create the pop music object, what we are doing is using the constructor. So in this case, ticket bracket bracket is our constructor. So if you take a look inside the ticket class, you're going to see the three fields that we were using. The constructor is not actually defined in this class. It's kind of just there automatically. In the future, we'll see more complex uses of constructors. The purpose of a constructor is to initialize the object. In our program, our constructor did not do any complex initialization. It basically just gave some default values to the fields. Over here we have a diagram showing the state of the ticket. It's very similar to what this red box is showing, but in this diagram we can see that the ticket is an object and that show is actually an object as well. Strings differ from chars and ints in that they are objects. Rows and seats we call primitives. So here are another two examples. Name tag is a class, and all it does is hold a name. So it stores a name as a string, and it provides a method to set that name. There isn't a program that actually uses this class, but we can use it in BlueJ sort of manually. We create a new name tag object. We'll call it name tag 1, which appears down here. And if we click on it, we can see that the name is null, and null just means that there's nothing there. So if we right click on that object and we choose set name, we can provide a name, and what that's going to do is set this field equal to this value. So if I double click on it again, this time I see that the string has been set. In the second example, I've got two classes. I've got an appointment class, which stores an appointment for a calendar application, say. And appointments have descriptions, they have a date, a month, and a year, all stored as integers. In the calendar class, we have a add appointment method, which will take appointments and add them to a list of appointments. So the list of appointments is called APPTS. It's a field. It's what's called an array list. And we specify what type of class is going in the array list by using these special angled brackets. In the calendar constructor is where we create this list. And we have to import this class in order to use it. So I can create a new appointment. I'll just use the default name. And I can create a new calendar. And I can add the appointment to the calendar by invoking the add appointment method. So as an argument to add appointment, I'm going to say add this appointment. And if we inspect the calendar and follow the references, we follow these arrows. We're going to look at the data inside the list of appointments. We'll see that in the first item, item 0, that we have an appointment. Now we haven't set the description, the date, or the time because it's a very simple example and we didn't put in that functionality.